Hey everyone, today is going to be one cracking episode as we're expanding on the previous one, as I'm giving you 8 more of my favourite designed moments in games. Hey everyone, I hope you're well playing and or making the games that you all love. You're joining me, your host, Max Pears. It's an absolute pleasure to be here chatting with you all today. I hope you're okay, whether this be morning, evening, or night. An absolute pleasure to have you all with me. So again, thank you for joining me. I hope you and your loved ones are all safe. So yes, this one, as I said, is kind of expand on the final episode of last year, which was the end of 2020, where I talked about some of the kind of gaming moments that really, spoke to me and impressed me from a design perspective. And we're going through 8 more examples of this that I've played through the last year and really kind of blew me away and just wowed me. Now, there is going to be more. I have not played every game in 2020, and some of these games may have been out, shall we say, before 2020, and I've only just played them. So if you do want to see my first kind of top 3, then head on to the previous video, which I'll put a link in the description. So if you like this, you can go there and see my other ones that really kind of inspired this kind of episode and see what we've learned from and what we can take them away as designers. So that's really kind of the purpose of today. But before we go on, let's have a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by none other than Gamedevtv. For those of you who don't know, they are a phenomenal resource which helps you who may not have any experience to those looking to grow and improve their experience and knowledge on game dev related tools, whether that be programming, design, or art. All of these you can find on their website. And not only are they a great resource, but they've teamed up with myself to give you a phenomenal discount. If you go on and follow through the links that I've got down below, which give you a range of courses, you'll find that there is amazing discounts of over 80%. Normally a course costs around about £200, but luckily with the codes that we've got, and should I say the links down below, you'll get them for what would be about 40 to 50 bucks, around that benchmark. So if you're looking to go for it, this is a great place to start your learning. I personally am going through the Unity Beginners 3D C# course myself, and I'm really enjoying it with great tutors like Rick and Sam, which have previously been on this podcast as well. So if you're looking to improve your skills, head no further than Gamedevtv. All of the links to the great courses will be down in the description below. Now back to the episode. Let's get on to our very first one. Now these will contain spoilers for certain parts, so just keep in mind the first one is going to be Last of Us 2. So if you haven't played that game, you may want to play this before getting into it, but I think it's an overall good experience. But if not, you've been warned, and let's keep going. It's Last of Us 2. This one to me was obviously a very good game, and I enjoyed it. And this example I'm going to be talking about is when you take the role of Abby and you're facing Tommy, which is the sniper. Now when you're playing as Abby, you don't actually know that it's Tommy. And this level is kind of built in such a great moment, a nice reveal that it's Tommy. The reason for that is you are reunited with one of Abby's compatriots. I've forgotten his name, but you're really originally with him in the beginning, and then you separate from him in order to go find Owen. And when you're reunited, he informs you that the sniper has taken out a few of his squad, and they need to move up and get to him. And what's great is how long this takes. This to me was like purposely planned out, and I don't know, I'm just speculating when I say that, to make you get frustrated about the sniper, that it takes you so long to get to them. Normally when you find encounters with the sniper, you can be pinned down, but you'll normally find a way to, take them out eventually, or you will have a run-up or a lead-up, but it won't take too long. But this must have taken what felt like 15 to 20 minutes to me, I could be exaggerating and I died a couple of times, so maybe that's why it took a little bit longer. But the way that they've introduced him as this cold-blooded killer, that he has taken so much, the strategy you have to do in order to get between cover, the feeling of the strength and power he has. But not only that, they show you how smart this sniper is as well, because of the fact that he starts to draw clickers and infected towards you by creating noises near you. So you have to take out these clickers while dodging or keeping low in order to not get shot by the sniper. And it has all this big tension. You understand that this sniper is an intelligent one for you as well, which makes you fear them a little bit as well, and also keeps building up that angst because you really want to get to them. But each time you feel like you're so close, he just stops. He just outmaneuvers you, outsmarts you as the player. And it gets to a point where then when you think you've got them, you're chasing them inside. What I also like about this is how you move throughout these levels. You originally start off on, I believe, it's kind of like a freeway, eventually moving upside into a car park, and then inside what I believe to be is like a school or an office building. Or is it a library? There's a library you do go into, I think. And you go in there, and just when you've got to the door, just chasing him, he takes out your friend, the one that you've just reunited with. And that like hits hard because you know it's come for you. And then what I mentioned before with that tension, well, now it's built to frustration because you've seen it, seen the sniper take out someone that you were with. Now, we've talked in this episode in a previous one where I mentioned about how you need to build up a relationship to create a rapport, and an in-game relationship, I mean, with AI and the player to really have a meaningful impact. So I felt this one lacks a little bit, but because of the fact that you and this, I really wish I remember the name, so I do sincerely apologize. But you and your partner, as in like, they're not actual partners, him and Abby, just for the record, but partner in crime for this and trying to take him out your sniper. You've teamed up with them, they've saved you, because they do have meaningful AI combat that helps you as a player taken out, and it just made me so angry. I was, I'm going to get this sniper, I'm going to take them out. And this was the best bit, because when you finally catch up to them, bust open the door, it turns out it's Tommy. And Abby has kind of a similar reaction to you, because you're shocked, because you didn't realize it was Tommy. You believed that it was someone from, why am I forgetting? The ulterior faction, the very religious cult. I'm now forgetting I've completely forgot. I do sincerely apologize, and my brain is clearly not working. But there's also like a twist in the player and Abby, because Abby's shocked because it's Tommy, because she recognizes him from when she killed Joel. But you're kind of shocked, and also it's now a cutscene, so you've now had the power taken away from you, which makes you kind of more anxious, because by this point for me, I don't know about other players, so please let me know down below in the comments how you felt at this moment if you have played this. I didn't want Abby to win. I wanted Tommy to not be hurt. And then you kind of know that's not going to happen at this point, but you're never fully sure. And then she throws him off into the water. But that was a really kind of an emotional match that gets twisted, right? Because I said, Abby's shocked just like you, because she doesn't realize that Tommy is here on the hunt for her and her friends. So to see that kind of makes you go, whoa, what's happening? And for you go, whoa, this is Tommy. But now you've got that inner conflict of, well, who do I want to win? And for me, as I said at the time, it was Tommy. And it's these kind of, how do we say, these moments which really kind of put you emotionally invested. So this to me was my first favorite of this list, because the emotional connection and how they built that through the movement, and showing that Sniper was intelligent by changing the strategy. He's not just shooting at you as you move from cover to cover. He's also at some points on the move, so his shots are a bit off. He is calling up clickers to come attack you. So they vary it in a very meaningful way, and then the emotional twist at the end, superb. Honestly, really, really well done. Number 2. Now, I have mentioned Among Us in the previous video, but this one's slightly different, and something again that I just recently noticed. So as I mentioned to you on the previous episode, that basically I have been watching some streamers play Among Us as well as playing it myself. And one of the things that I noticed wasn't just the talk of the story and how it changes each time, but the metagame of Among Us. Now, metagames come in different forms, especially with the competitive scene, but for the meta of Among Us, this was very interesting to watch and see you realize it yourself, but also watching others who play together realize it too. Because what happens is if you're playing with the same group of people over and over and over again, you're going to realize, or should we say pick up on details on what your friends are doing. You're going to understand how they try play the game. Do they constantly call lights? Do they call communications? Do they not do any of this? Are they a venter? All of these really start to come into play, right? But when I played with friends of mine, I noticed something that I had done wrong myself. Because at the start of every game, I tend to always head to the right of the map when I was a crewmate. And then when I was imposter, I just headed straight down for no reasoning, and I panicked. But because me and my best friend Steve, who was playing with me, he constantly saw me go to the right. It was like 3 games in a row I went to the right, and then for once I changed my path. And straight away, because of this small detail of my pathing, it had changed completely in terms of how he perceived me and got me caught very easily. So it's the study of your friendships, the study of the people that you play, and then the brilliant bit was me and my friend Steve would always, during one round, just walk together. And this for me was one of the best things that I did because I learned from that previous mistake. And then I met up with Steve and I kept with him for the whole first round to earn his trust before inevitably killing off other crewmates and then him, to the point where he doesn't hang out with me anymore despite me being crewmate or anything like that. So this to me was just something again of the game that keeps on giving, and how the difficulty can increase, because the difficulty, yes, you can change the number of imposters, right? But it's how people play. So that again, not only is the story intrinsic, but so is the difficulty. By you sticking, whether that be playing with new people, not playing with comms, playing with proximity, all of this can really change the level of challenge within the game. Again, fascinating to me, honestly. I think there's so much to watch and just learn from Among Us. Honestly, it blows my mind. Like if I was going to make a multiplayer game, this would be something I look at and study very well. So just congratulations to the whole team who made this game, because clearly it blew up in such a brilliant way. Now on to the third one. This one is going to be about that of the Final Fantasy VII Remake. For those of you who don't know, I am a huge Final Fantasy VII fan, no surprise there. But it was definitely one of those anticipated games for me. Just like everyone else, I was super on the edge of my seat in terms of, well, how are they going to do it? What's going to make this, I guess, appealing to some fans? Because I'm sure many of you have been involved or saw debates online where people are like, oh, let's not remake certain games. Which, just as a quick sidestep, is a very interesting topic to talk about, because I see what their points are. New IPs, you tend to want that, but the cost of making games is now astronomical. It is honestly disgusting how much games cost on the AAA level. Honestly, it is baffling how we've let it get to this point. But the reason of should it not be made or just keep it as the original has always been interesting to me. Because unlike films, there isn't someone rebranding it onto that of a VHS to DVD to Blu-ray and to then possibly now put it online streaming somewhere, right? On games, it's a lot more difficult to do that. Obviously, you can get emulators, but do you want to do that? Like how to get up and running, there's a bit of a barrier of entry on stuff like that. And it's one of those things where it's a shame, because we're going to miss a lot of our history sometimes by not having these games available. And I say that as someone who, I was born in the 90s, old probably to some of you who are listening, but young to others. And I know there's a lot that I missed from before my time, which is a real shame, and I'll probably never see or play again. So sometimes, yeah, that's just another side point, but a very interesting one. So yeah, that's another, like I said, another side topic. Pushing that topic aside though, the one thing that I really want to praise Final Fantasy VII Remake for is the understanding how games have changed. since its first release in I think it was the late 90s, mid to late 90s, and how they've adapted that. Because there's been games that have come out, remade, and I'm going to talk about this one, which is, for example, Shadow of Colossus, the remake. To me, that was a bit of a letdown, and I'm not saying that to insult anyone who's made on it. I know they worked hard on it, and me saying that doesn't take away from anything that they have done. The reason I say that, though, is certain things like the controller layout, I mentioned that as well before, is that it takes up a lot of real estate on the controller, which is very close to everything that makes it feel very uncomfortable. They never addressed that. There are certain things I felt that in the design method was very much for its time. When you had a big open game like that, it's like Silent Hill 2. It used fog because that was a technical limitation of the PlayStation at the time. They couldn't stream the open worlds. So when you see a remake, it feels slightly off in how they did it. I think it was the PC remake, which was years ago still, to the point where, because that's not a technical limitation anymore, it feels off, it feels weird to do that. And we're comparing that to the Shadow of Colossus, the world is very dead, right? And it's kind of almost to the point where, again, it is showing you what little life there is. It runs in parallel with the theme, showing you the contrast of little life in the open world versus seeing these magnificent creatures, which again, you're damaging them and their environment. Yet, there could have been more. I'm not saying put open world quests there, because I don't think that would have worked. There's definitely things that could have changed with the controls, with that of how you keep that theme. Maybe we have more creatures and animals related to that area. And when the player comes back after killing these Colossus, you see that the grass has died, for example. There's no more deer running around, something like that. I think that could have been expanded upon. But again, I understand their constraints when remaking a game. It's a tough balance. Resident Evil 2, the remake, was the first to show how to do that. And Final Fantasy 7 was another great one in how they did this and how they showed that there's things that you can update, whether that be the story itself or expanding on characters like Jesse, Wedge, and Briggs, I believe it was. Them getting their own kind of involvement was super impressive. The open world having more kind of side quests and tests on the researcher. When you gave enough kind of data to him, you could then unlock VR battles and all of this playing into everything. And your kind of mark as Cloud and its impact on each section of these more hub world moments with the open world activities was great. And I think that they built in the systems and knew when it was time to change and what needed to be updated. Because here's the other thing, as we progress as designers, as an industry, all of this is changing, right? Everything that we're working on. And in one of my blogs and a previous episode, I mentioned about designing details, in which I talked about how Resident Evil used loading screens, same with Last Guardian, save points in Alien Isolation, title menus, how we as designers and developers just take them for granted. Like, oh yeah, that's just a loading screen. We can do so much more with that. And you're seeing that with other mechanics and moments that I've mentioned in this episode and the previous, and how they all come together to make something just better, so much better. And for those, I think it was Bluepoint who did Shadow of the Colossus, they're working on someone else's IP, right? And this is always going to be a constraint compared to Square Enix, who own the right and have some of the original team members still from Final Fantasy 7 working there. So it's a slightly different environment that I get. But to me, it just shows you how games have evolved and how they were not afraid to evolve with them. And it was a really, overall very good game. I really enjoyed it. If you haven't, do check out the episode with me, Jonathan, and Blake, where we talk about Final Fantasy VII, give our full thoughts and review on that. It's a great one, talking from different opinions. Jonathan, who's currently working at Hangar 13 on the Mafia franchise, who actually recently did a remake on that of the Mafia franchise, and Blake, who's currently working on Horizon Zero Dawn, and myself, all looking at this from a perspective of old fans as well as, designers currently. So it's a great one, so do go check that one out.
At Lover Design Lobby, We believe everybody has a story to tell. Hobbyist or student, freelancer or veteran, we made it our mission to unite those who share our passion for creating and developing great games. Thanks to our generous Patreon backers, we've been able to do just that. So if you've already pledged your support, thank you. If not, you too can ensure the future of Level Design Lobby, helping us to create even more exciting content, collaborations, interviews, and much more. With awesome perks and rewards, whether you're a seasoned professional or just getting started, you're sure to find something for you. Want to share tips, tricks, and advice with passionate, like-minded developers? Our awesome community Discord has you covered. Fancy practicing your level design, creating strong portfolio content, and having fun? Then try our level design weekends. Or perhaps you want to individually discuss your work, hone your skills, or level up your career? Then consider our one-on-one mentorships. If you share our vision, then go to patreon.com/Level Design Lobby for more information and to pledge your support. Thank you.
The next one, so this is number 4 here, so we're about halfway through, team. This is No More Heroes. Now, this game is quite old, I understand that. I missed it on the Wii, but I rebought it on, what was it? It was the Nintendo Switch. So this is why it's on my list, because I played it this year. In the previous one, I mentioned about Gears, the previous episode, the Gears of War reload mechanic, and how it's a shame we haven't seen that incorporated in more games. But it's actually in that of No More Heroes. Now, granted, it's shown in a very different way than Gears of War, but this to me was a great example of how the theme of your game can dictate how you show it in not only animations, mechanics, all of these. Because the fact that, oh man, it's going to sound so weird saying this, so please do forgive me, and I know clips of this are probably going to come out at some point. But essentially, when you play No More Heroes, the saber that you're using needs to recharge. And the way that you need to recharge it is by shaking the controllers. And when you do that, your character basically shakes it as if he looks like he's masturbating, right? I know, I didn't really want to say that, but the point I want to get across with that is when you compare that to the Gears of War, not only is this slightly different in terms of risk-reward, because Gears, it's a punishment in a sense because your reload time is longer if you don't hit the sweet spot, compared to, say, that of No More Heroes, where it's a tactical risk reward, where if you keep using your weapon, you're going to run out and leave yourself exposed. So you're going to have to try and dodge enemies before you can recharge your weapon and get back into the fight. So right there's a difference in the purpose. Again, risk reward, but the reward I would say is greater in Gears of War, and the punishment is also a little bit worse. But compare that to No More Heroes, where it's the risk reward isn't done through punishment of the mechanic like Gears of War, it's done through your tactical choice. And that to me was interesting. And also the animations. I know what I said earlier about it making it look like he's masturbating, but again, it ties in with the theme. It understands that this game has a sense of humor, right? It doesn't take itself seriously versus that of the more sad world that Gears of War is based in. And again, it's showing that through animation. So I really did appreciate this. If you have a theme, an understanding of what your game is, make sure it shines through in all aspects, especially if it's your character. I think I've mentioned it before, but if you haven't, do go check out Miyazaki's book, which is called The Starting Point. I recommend that. I think it's a really good book. The second one, Something Other Point, I don't recommend. It's not that good. But the first one is great. And as I said, I think I've mentioned this before. He mentions, though, that the walk cycle is one of the hardest things to do. And what he's referring to is every time we walk, our mood can play a huge role in how we walk. Notice yourself when you're down, your probably head's further lower. When you're feeling better, confident, you kind of stood up higher, eyes facing up. These really capture who you are at that moment in time. And it's the same thing with this. As Gears, like I said, it's all about very militaristic motions and how he reloads versus the more goofy adolescent humor, shall we say, with No More Heroes. So again, just a great one to learn from right there. The next one I haven't played, but I just really did appreciate from just watching videos, right? And this is HalfLife Alyx. I haven't played, so I'm not going to be able to talk too much, but I really do want to mention its understanding of its main mechanic, which is VR from what I've seen, right? It's not a gimmick. Everything is done useful to understand that it's how you move your hands and interact with that space, which is incredible. Really, really incredible. And the one thing that I liked with HalfLife Alyx from what I saw again is where it placed that of the health indicator. It's on the player's wrists. Most people have owned, and I don't know about still do, but have owned a watch in their time. So they will have looked at the wrist that feels normal. So they make it feel more like a watch element. It's clear. They understand that your hands are always going to be in your view and cross your line of sight. And that to me was brilliant. As I said, I loved the dead space line on the suit. That to me was some of the best design that blew me away when I was a teenager. And the fact that, again, we don't see that being used, we just rely on the UI, and there's nothing wrong with UI before UI artists come after my throat. What I'm saying is there's different ways to show it, and to see them use it, take it, and really make sure it's integral to the player's views and core concept of their platform. Great stuff there, and probably way much more. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to play it. I don't own a VR headset or anything. But if there's any more and someone has played it, please, like I said, leave a comment down below or email into the show, because I'm fascinated to know more. The next one now is Watch Dogs Legions. This is number 6, and this is any character. Again, in the previous episode, we talked about the Nemesis system from the Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor franchise on the Lord of the Rings. So this is kind of the reverse of that, right? Instead of any enemy becoming your arch nemesis, it's any NPC can become your ally. And that to me was great. It's the core mechanic of the game, each of them operating differently. I know some people have said that obviously eventually people sound the same, and some of the kind of special, let's say, powers or mechanics aren't varied enough. Like once you capture or recruit, is probably the better term, recruit these members to your freedom fighting gang. And I get that, but at the same time you have to appreciate the variety of options you have, and I can only hope that they build on this in a different way. I don't know how. I honestly don't know how. I'm just saying that overall I appreciate that system. I appreciate the different look at it from the protagonist side versus the antagonist side. And I wonder where you can push this even further, right? A lot of people worry about the changing of games when you got procedural generated worlds, procedural generated kind of own narratives. If you put in that Nemesis system, say with that of roguelikes, what was that one called? Was it Rogue Story? Which is essentially where you play as a knight and you choose his or her descendant, and each one has their own kind of flaws and power-ups. It's these where if you had a budget, I do wonder how far you could get by having all these systems intertwine. I'm sure it'd be quite a bit of a nightmare to figure out. However, it's such a door opener for possibilities, which just continues to, as I said, blow me away, and just where we can take them. Honestly, fascinated more by this. Okay, we're going to talk about Dreams here, because I completely forgot this released in 2020, which is awful of me, because I had Peter come on the show, which is a great guy. He is incredible, and I'm sure all the people I've met at Medium Molecule are lovely people. And I want to talk about Dreams, because to me, Dreams is something, I mean, I know it's not technically a game, but the possibility, well, I don't know if I can say that, because it has a campaign mode as well, because it's facilitating, right, creating. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. When people talk about portfolios, what should I include, how do I get into making games, Dreams is definitely one to me that is almost a perfect candidate for getting in there and making. Now, I know you can definitely be overwhelmed with the options that you have, because there is so many options to it, right? You can make old games, levels, animations. There's a lot that you can make. And that's something I just want to point out for anyone who's listening, maybe wondering how he got started. Dreams, by all means, is a great new option. It is something that maybe and hopefully, because I said I really like Media Molecule and how they think very differently, this can be, what should we say, gain a foothold to help other creatives break in. I mean, I said when I did my first portfolio to get into my university, I made levels on Little Big Planet, and that helped me get into my university. So now that there's more power and control and possibilities with Dreams, I just don't want people to underestimate or let it slip by. I'm sure there will be a learning curve, like in any software, yet it is just something that we've not seen before, and I just don't know if it ever got appreciated enough, right? Because in the year of 2020, where there's a lot of big games to release, it's one where, as I said, it could be so much more as people, even myself, I don't think realize the value that this brings. So yeah, obviously go check it out, everyone. I think that is one to keep your eyes on if it is something you're looking to create on the side or build a portfolio. It again is a great footstep in the right direction. This brings us to the final example of great designs which impressed me. I did an episode on Resident Evil 3, as I was blown away by it. I honestly really enjoyed that. I know there were certain parts cut, but I can't remember the original, to be completely honest with you. Yet the Super Tyrant, how it was built on the previous game, just seeing how they pushed that, how they made a character feel ever more present, ever more intimidating, and the players had to use their wits, not just ammo because of scarcity, in how to slow that tyrant down, how to feel absolutely powerless against it until the time was to face it in all its boss battles, until finally the resolve of being rid of it after all that journey of the game. I can tell you that I was fed up of seeing that thing, so when I finally beat it, it was a great moment for me when I played it, and I hope others felt that too. And again, just when you understand your theme and your core of your game, I think that really helps to push the team further forward, right? They knew that the Super Tyrant was such a big part of the original and what they had done with the previous villain in Resident Evil 2, and pushed that further where they were chasing you and said you could only slow him down, the Tyrant. It is one that just overall, again, really makes you appreciate the craftsmanship into making video games and the emotions that they can pull out of you. Like I said, we talked about this example here and the first one with Last of Us with the sniper, with Tommy the sniper. That feeling of frustration, and yes, it can, frustration we normally associate with being a negative emotion, but when used right, honestly, when you can actually make the player feel that frustration to that build-up of the relief, to the final boss battle where you end it, or when you think you've killed it, but no, it's back again. That's used in a positive way. It's crafted that. The feeling of being powerless, where you know if you just keep shooting at it, nothing is going to happen, right? Incredible. Incredible. So I really did appreciate that one. So those are my top 8 design wows, I think we'll just refer to it as, that I really enjoyed in the past year. So I hope that you have enjoyed that. It's encouraged you to check them out. And just let me know what some of yours are. So if you want to reach out to me and let me know kind of moments that you were very much impressed by, you can leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not, you can tweet to me at MaxPez, or you can email into the show leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. Or if you are a part of Patreon, then just mention it on Discord, because I would love to hear more. As I mentioned earlier, this is the continuation of the last episode of 2020. So if you want to see, I think it was 3 other kind of wow moments, go back, check it out, give it a listen, as I think you'll enjoy that one as well. If you do want to support the show and make sure that we obviously continue to get better and make even more amazing content, then please do think about supporting us on Patreon, which is patreon.com level design lobby. Alright everyone, take care, catch you all later, and I'll see you all next time.